What is happening? Welcome to the Cubulus Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Nick Pollack, and yes, I should not be here. I am the runner of Pitcher List, the fantasy baseball site, but once a year, I come onto this show because I need to know about fantasy football, and I know nothing. I also need to be jealous of that theme music because it's incredible, and I wish we had it at Pitcher List. So for me to learn about the fantasy football season, what I do is I talk to the lead of QB List, and oh my gosh, Jay Felicio is here. Jay, I'm so glad you're here with us at Pitcher List, and you're here to lead the site this year and beyond. It's good to see you.
I appreciate it. And two things. One, I can confirm that you really do not know anything about fantasy football. And two, you said Pitcher List. Maybe when you're doing your shows, it's Pitcher List, but this is QB List.
Dang. Did I really do that?
You did. Okay. I understand. But I had to clarify this side of things. This side of the railroad tracks is QB List.
Oh my gosh. All right. Noted. Jay, do you want to just tell everybody about yourself a little bit? Why am I trusting you right now to tell me what to think in fantasy football?
Yeah, so I'm about 5'7", 185 pounds. No, I've been a content creator for going on close to 8-9 years now. I started around 2017 or so, and started kind of like a lot of people, just wanted to, as a hobby, do it for do some writing. And it just snowballed, especially it really took a life of its own during the pandemic. I started podcasting, doing some live stream stuff like that. And we've talked about a few times. I've been playing fantasy sports for a long time. That's not necessarily a qualifier by any means, but been around the block, learned a few things. I started out with Going for Two, and then went over to my good friends over at Front Yard Fantasy, where if you haven't heard of it, it's basically fantasy football meets the Tonight Show, fantasy football,
right?
Strategy, fantasy football games, things like that. After there, I learned a lot working with those guys. Got some great opportunities. We got to do some work with FanDuel, and headed over to The Athletic. Been working with them for the past couple of seasons, doing a lot of different things. What I think one of the things that sets me apart, and one of the things that you guys liked here is I've got a lot of tools in my toolbox. I've done pretty much everything there is to do.
Charting you've done. Charting is so great. And, it's coming from someone who was a college pitcher and having that aspect of the game to help with baseball discussion. It's fantastic to know that you have that skill set as well. And I'll tell you guys this. I went to Jake Seeley, my good friend at The Athletic, and said, Jake, I need to find the right person to really lead us for the future. And he said, I've got the perfect guy. I would have recommended him earlier, but he wasn't a free agent. And that was you, Jay. And I got to say, it's been incredible so far. But I don't know, because are you going to help me here? I won't really know until I do this podcast next year with you. And I go, Jay, what the heck, man? I had it right and you just steered me wrong. No, that will not happen. And what we're going to do in this podcast is we're going to go through every position. And we're going to go through his ultimate draft guide that he wrote up today. Also, if you didn't notice, Jay wrote up 300 players, the top 300 overall, with blurbs on every single one. That's how we do it. Fantastic work there. And what my favorite thing is, I don't know what is consensus. I literally have not checked a single ranking. But what I do know is that Reddit reacted saying that they appreciated that you just didn't do the chalk of everybody else. And to me, that is a sign of a good analyst, because if you know me at Pitcher List, I don't read another ranking, and I have ranks that are just different at times, and it makes the conversation so much better. And you actually give good reasoning for it, and you actually highlight, look, this is how I see things. I'm not just going to just agree with everybody else, maybe with one or two random little changes here and there. So we're going to do this. And I am going to mispronounce all of these names. Are you cool with that?
That's fine. That's, I'll make sure I take care of you. Like we talked about, I listened to last year's and there was some interesting pronunciation. So I can't wait to find out what we'll have here. And just real quick to touch on what you said about not being consensus. That is something that I strive for. And it's, you'll have those, you'll see some, not speaking about anybody directly. So if it sounds that way, it's not. But you'll have analysts out there that are just do it for the hot takes, just do it for the clicks, for the reaction.
Yeah.
And not what I'm doing. It's, it never fails when somebody says, oh, you're way off
the clicks, right? Just to engage and be different and stand out. That's not it. Because you're doing it for good discussion, right? Exactly. You're doing it because this is what you actually think is the right conversation to have. And
just look at the end of the season, just the end of the season versus the consensus ADP rankings. It's never anywhere close to the same. So if you're
that's a great point.
Right around consensus, you're not really looking into things too
well
deep.
Yeah. So one thing I really do want to emphasize, which is the hardest part of baseball, but really I imagine is with football, is just, oh boy, predicting volume is the hardest thing that we'll do, and it's probably the biggest decider of these ranks. So a lot of time you actually want to be doing it based on skill than you do on predicting health, because who knows? And it's almost like, football is a very violent sport where you can get a little bit more hurt. I mean, even than baseball, which, all these Tommy John surgeries, it doesn't matter. I'm going to stop doing this. No more baseball, Nick. It's time for the F word, which is football. Okay. QBs. That's where we're going to start here. Now, walk me through this. I generally say I do not go for the top end QBs. I always feel that there are guys who are, 6 through 10 or whatever it is, who are just the ones that you go mid to late rounds, who are going to bring back close to the first couple in value, while it's just too, you just can't miss out on wide receivers and running backs early on, especially like you can't have like the worst tight end ever. It's just, you have to capitalize on that. And there's more room for growth with QBs. Is that a general smart take to have? Is that one that you carry with yourself?
It's a smart take, and it's one that a lot of people have, but it's kind of the consensus now, and it's gotten to the point where everybody's doing that. Everybody's waiting on quarterback, and it's one of those things where now the value is in potentially getting those elite guys. Now, let me clarify. I'm not saying you need to take a Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen in the first round or anything like that, but if you're able to get them in the fourth, the fifth, somewhere around there is an advantage to having those elite guys. Now, that being said, I do prefer to wait. The strategy that I tend to take is wait on quarterback. Once you get to those 10th, 11th round, something along those lines, pairing a high upside player, somebody along the lines of a JJ McCarthy, somebody who has a lot of question marks, but could find himself in that upper echelon of fantasy quarterbacks. Pair him with a Geno Smith, somebody that...
Okay, so hold on a second. I'm going to stop you because you're saying JJ McCarthy. I'm like, wait, hold on a second. That's the Michigan guy, isn't it? It took me a moment because that is the only team I know, which is Go Blue. It's my sister went there, and I tell myself I watch one football game a year, and I didn't even watch it. I was away in Hong Kong, and we somehow won. But wait, JJ McCarthy, right? That's him. He is not a mobile quarterback. So unfortunately, despite me enjoying him at Michigan, he's not that kind of guy. He's just not the one I'm going to go for. And I have right in front of me your rankings, and then I also have Fantasy Pros rankings as well, so I can just get a general sense of what I'm going to be facing. And it does seem like, okay, Lamar Jackson, Jayden Daniels, and Josh Allen are in the universal top 3, but the big difference I see is that Jalen Hurts, you don't like him as much as consensus. Why is that? I feel like he's going to be running more than, say, Joe Burrow and Mahomes, who you have at 4 and 5.
So that's one of the guys that I got a lot of pushback on, and that's another thing I'm glad that I'm able to clarify my take versus just having it written. I look more at tiers versus the actual number rankings.
Oh, now, yes, you're speaking my language.
I do, it's strip the names away and look at the stats. And it's not that I don't like Jalen Hurts. I do. He's one. I actually traded for him in a playoff push last year. That rushing floor is something that puts him among those elites.
You're telling me Hurts was a rental? Oh, keep going, please.
Yeah, he was. Well, it's a keeper league, so but that being said,
that's a car rental joke. Let's move on.
The thing with Jalen Hurts is so much of his value has come from those rushing touchdowns. Now, obviously, he's done it, I think, 3 years in a row now where he's got double-digit rushing touchdowns thanks to the tush push, which every time Marco said that last year, you laughed like a schoolgirl.
I can't believe that we all agree that is a term. I held it in for you.
I really go right ahead. It almost was gone, but the thing with Jalen Hurts that concerns me is that he's never had a season where he's had a ton of passing upside. Not to say that he's not capable of doing it, but he's yet to eclipse 3,900 yards or 25 passing touchdowns in a season. So the concern last year didn't come to fruition with Saquon Barkley stealing all of the goal line touches. He only had one of the most historic seasons for a running back. But what happens with Jalen Hurts' value if those touchdowns go to 8, 9? Those are so valuable, especially in leagues where passing touchdowns only count for 4 or 5 points. He replaces 6 of those rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns. That's a pretty significant drop. So he's about as safe as they come when it comes to that upper echelon top 5. But I worry about what happens if the rushing touchdowns come down, if this offense is going to be one that's going to push the ball enough to get him over that passing.
So what I'm hearing is that you see kind of Jalen Hurts and relative to Joe Burrow and Mahomes, as you just see kind of a longer spectrum of floor and ceiling, while Joe Burrow and Mahomes is not as mobile, being in the middle of that spectrum. Is that right?
Exactly. They're basically the inverse of Jalen Hurts, where they're going to have the passing stats. They'll chip in 300 or so rushing yards, a couple of rushing touchdowns here and there. But I feel like the opportunity for them to take that even more so than they've had in the past, like they can have those seasons where they throw for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm not going to touch Burrow or Mahomes. I just feel it's like, it's fine. I imagine they'll go higher than I would be going for them. I don't know what round they would normally be going in at this point. I don't have any sort of reference point for that.
Round, something along those lines.
Something like that. Gotcha. All right. Yeah. Maybe. It depends on how I feel about the rest of this, because I don't know how I feel. I do see that everyone's in on Baker Mayfield in that same tier, but you are not. You have him at 14. Why is that?
The thing is, and this is where things, just like in any fantasy sport, baseball, football, whatever, people get so caught up on what happened last year. Baker Mayfield wound up being a top 5 fantasy quarterback last season on the back of 41 touchdowns, which he's never remotely come close to. Maybe this isn't, but some may say it's some spite because I lost my championship matchup because of Baker Mayfield, but that's here nor there. But the thing is, you got the outlier seasons are what win you fantasy championships, but you also have to be able to realize when they are the outlier seasons. Last season, Baker Mayfield had his career high 7.3 touchdown rate. He's averaged 4.5 over his entire career. There's actually only been 4 quarterbacks in the past 5 seasons that has had a touchdown rate over 7. So that tells me that that
definitely was historic. What was the context of Mayfield doing that last year? What team was he on?
Buccaneers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
He was on the same Buccaneers team. So what was introduced to that team that made him throw so many touchdowns? Was the offensive line being better? The weapons around him?
A little bit of a couple of things. One, the weapons. He had 2 of the, 2 potential Hall of Famers. Mike Evans, 100%. Chris Godwin is likely a Hall of Fame candidate, but they drafted really well as 2. They added Jalen McMillan last season, who stepped in when Chris Godwin got hurt. But the big thing was offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, who is now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. His system is in the same conversation as the Sean McVays and the Kyle Shanahans, where they're just able to put up points, and those are the kind of systems that you want to attack.
And so those things are. So what I'm hearing then is the head corner is gone. Evans and Godwin are a year older. And what is the state of the offensive line?
So Tristan Wirfs, who was arguably the best left tackle in the entire league, had offseason surgery here recently. They're expecting him back at the beginning of the season, but that expecting
Does
back versus
everyone
what
get off-season surgery in football? I feel like everyone is hurt by the end. So but all right, that's a great argument. I think
6 weeks before they have a surgery, but it's no big deal. Like, okay, you're going to be, like you said, in a tackling physical sport in 6 weeks, but it's no big deal that you just went under,
you're fine. Okay, so then as far as the what I also love here is actually I'm looking at this and go, wow, you have Jordan Love and Caleb Williams at 7 and 8. And again, I'm looking at this, comparing it to Fantasy Pros. This is for, I guess, full PPP or PPR, whatever it is. Points per reception, PPR. I got it. It's not my PPP loan. Okay.
Points per point.
Jordan Love is at 17. You have him at 7. What is going on in Green Bay then?
This is the kind of the inverse of the Baker Mayfield effect. This time last year, Jordan Love was being drafted in the top 10. He was Everybody was excited for the potential of a breakout season. And then he got injured in the game, late in the game, week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles in Brazil. Had an MCL injury that they were expecting to miss a really big chunk of the season. And it wound up, he came back in, I think, 2-3 games, something along those lines. Toughed it out. He threw the ball pretty close to what his standard would be. But the problem is, because of that MCL injury, he wasn't able to be as mobile as he normally would. Can't move around in the pocket, can't chip in those, not like a rushing total that you would see from Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, but enough to make him add that extra little floor to a guy who, if he's able to have that type of passing season, that little floor is what elevates them over your Baker Mayfields and, the other guys that don't have that safe floor.
So you're saying he has a foundation and also this extra step to go above it. He's a running QB. Is that right?
I wouldn't say a running QB. Okay. I would say more in the lines of he's mobile, similar to like Joe Burrow, where he's able to extend a play. He can run for a first down, but
we don't really expect
it's not a major part of his game.
Okay. So then as far as the guys outside of, I don't know, the first 7 or so. So Caleb Williams, I see Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray, Bo Nix I guess he's good now. I don't know. Justin Fields.
I'm actually low on Bo Nix compared to most. He's in most
Justin Fields, there's no way. It's a Jets QB. Come on, guys. We know this. We've been around this. Trevor Lawrence is whatever to me. CJ Stroud and Baker Mayfield. I mean, are there any running QBs here?
Not really. Most of the guys in this range are going to be the ones similar to the Jordan Loves. The Trevor Lawrence actually runs more than you would think. He averages close to, I believe, around.
I don't think anything. So I guess so. Yes.
And then, I'm sitting here looking. There's not really, honestly. Gotcha. I will say, normally we have some of those running quarterbacks in these late rounds that have that high upside. It was funny. Mm-hmm. You said told you I was listening to last year's version of this podcast, and you said, "Who's this Jayden Daniels guy?"
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh man,
has this season, historic Rookie of the Year season." So it was. That
was the one that takes those right on, right? That was one of them. Maybe did I actually like him or not?
But that's all right. We won't. I wasn't going to call you.
Did I really? Was I out?
Yeah,
no! You were. I should have been. He was a runner. Come on, Nick.
Yep. Oh, I'll have to double check on that, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, you didn't even know who he was.
I know I was in on Caleb Williams because I was told that it was the best offensive line in Chicago. And I'm like, well, I guess it's not. And that actually is a good segue to talk to me about offensive lines. That is such a huge part about what I go into the season with. It's good for running backs. It gives me understanding of what the QBs are going to do. Who would you say are like in the top 5 of the offensive lines? And also, which ones are known to be the bottom 5 as well?
So that's one thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration, and it's honestly one of the most important in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. The quarterback needs time before he faces pressure to be able to throw the ball. A running back needs lanes. There's guys who are elite talents like Saquon Barkley's pretty much entire career with the Giants. The offensive line was atrocious, but he's good enough. He can overcome those things. Some of the best in the league, I would say probably Minnesota, Indianapolis. Well, I know they weren't last year, but Chicago really made some moves.
Did they?
Year. They did. They made some moves to shore up that offensive line, and that's why I'm so high on Caleb Williams' potential for this season. Some of the worst, you're probably obviously the New York Giants are still a terrible offensive line. Who else we talked about? Houston Texans.
I guess I'm looking at it. I'm trying to really hone in here on like the Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray, Bo Nix, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield area, right? And see like, okay, hold on a second. With their scenario, this makes a lot of sense for this QB to succeed. I remember even Kyler Murray last year, some massive spikes in production, if I'm correct, if I remember, and then not so much otherwise, right? Boom and bust.
Yeah, absolutely. And
right,
what was the reason everybody was so high on Kyler Murray going into last season was the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr., who so often we hear the generational prospect term, and this guy's a sure thing. And he was being drafted among the top in the first 3 rounds of drafts last season. And people forget the NFL is a lot harder than college. And he was okay, but he was a huge disappointment from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
He was not the guy that came in. Basically, the type of season that Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. had is what they expected for.
That means Marvin nothing to me, but I understand that everyone else understands that except me.
Yeah.
And then I also see like Tua. Tua's, does he still have those 2 amazing receivers?
So he has Jalen Waddle, yes, and Tyree. Yep. He has them, yes. The thing is one of them is getting a little long in the tooth. Tyreek Hill is 32, I believe, and is battling.
He's also not a good human, so I don't like that part.
That is very true. And he's battling some issues already, injury issues, soft tissue, which I never like to hear.
You never like to
whether
hear
it's fantasy baseball, fantasy football. Yep. And for a guy his age, where so much of his game is reliant on his game-breaking speed, most of those don't necessarily age too well from a fantasy perspective. He'll still have those big games, but it's going to be the floor is a lot lower. So I like Jalen Waddle a lot this season. I am not very high on Tyreek Hill.
And who would you say of this top 20, which goes down to Dak Prescott, Tua, JJ McCarthy, Justin Herbert, and Drake May, who has the best receiving core around them?
That would easily be, it's actually funny enough, somebody that I'm lower on than most, Dak Prescott. He's got arguably the best wide receiver in the entire league, CeeDee Lamb. They just added George Pickens, but I'm still kind of out on Dak Prescott.
Why is that?
Offensive line. They lost one of their Zach Martin, who is potential Hall of Famer, probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. He retired this offseason. The offensive line wasn't that good last year, and losing somebody of his caliber, I really feel like it's going to be a disaster for Dallas this season. From Dak Prescott's not going to have time. The defense, the one thing I will say is the defense isn't that great, especially Micah Parsons holding out. If they trade or whatever happens in that situation, if he's not a Cowboy anymore, the defense is going to be even worse. So there is potential for garbage time points, but Dak Prescott's up there in age too. He's 32, coming off another significant injury. That's not somebody that I want to invest in.
Sure. I'm going to move on from QB. I mean, we could do it for the entire podcast, of course. But if I have to sit here and say, all right, this is the guy that you are too low on, and that is my pick, be like, pick to stick with Nick. I am going to...
That was a nice
terrible
trick.
Of all these names right here, I feel as if JJ McCarthy is going to have a great year. I'm just going to tell you right now, he's great and he does great things. So it's JJ
By any
McCarthy.
chance, did your sister go to Michigan or something?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe just a little bit. Honestly, I don't really have any sort of feelings about any of these guys. I feel like the least encouraged by QB in a long time.
I'm with you on JJ McCarthy too, and he's kind of in a similar situation similar to Jordan Love for me, where I don't understand why people aren't higher on him, because at this time last year, granted it was one game, but he came out the first preseason game and looked phenomenal. And with the wide receivers that he has, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hockenson at tight end. This offense turned Sam Darnold back into a viable starting quarterback.
Sure.
And one of the best offensive lines in the entire league.
In Minnesota.
Yes. Yeah. They have a phenomenal offensive line.
I'm feel great now.
JJ McCarthy could be that guy that makes a pretty significant jump into the upper echelon.
Like Brock Purdy's here, just being into 9.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like that. Yeah. Okay, cool. We're going to move on now. And before we do, we have to take a quick break. So wide receivers are fun. They are just like your guys that to me are the, I always think about it as far as pitching goes. And I see wide receivers as your high strikeout guys. And I see running backs as your quality start guys. Okay. Running backs are the ones you just want them to get the volume, to get the touches, and then you're good. While your wide receivers are like, all right, let's go. I need 10 strikeouts tonight. Boom or bust kind of thing. Right. And are you suggesting this year that we go more on the wide receiver side early or the running back side early?
That's a little bit of a loaded question. And
yeah, you know it.
I will come in guns a-blazing. I am actually going to say neither, and let me explain my thought process. So I go check out our Ultimate Draft Guide. I did a lot of work when it came to trying to explain why you need to go into a draft with strategy, but more of a general outline versus something that you need to stick to hard. And for instance, I like to go by what's called hero running back. I don't know if you've heard that terminology before.
I've heard. I can understand it pretty quickly.
Yeah, basically, I like to try to get a stud running back in the first 3 rounds, hit a bunch of wide receivers in the middle rounds, and pick back up with some of those high upside wide receivers. Now, it really depends what's available on the board. If those high upside elite running backs are gone, I'm going to take Justin Jefferson or Malik Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb. So it's so hard to get that high volume elite running back. I prefer to get a running back early, but I'll pivot off of that real quick if one of those guys isn't available. I'm not going to reach for the second tier of guys because I want a running back early over the elite wide receivers. So I think that the main takeaway is you really need to be able to adjust on the fly, and it, especially with the way that the first round breaks down this year, there's only a handful of really elite running backs here. Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane, I believe, is in
this
that.
Guy,
Ashton Jeanty. Yep, he was Boise State. He is he's a very good runner of the football. He actually, this is a name you might know. You ever hear a guy named Barry Sanders by any chance?
No, I know Sari Banders though.
Yeah. Well, it was actually, that's his cousin.
But, nice.
Yeah, Barry Sanders currently holds and still holds the rushing record for college football. Ashton Jeanty came extremely close to breaking that this past year. He's one of the few. I'll put it this way for you. He's a 5-tool player for fantasy football. He's able to stay on the field for all 3 downs. He's good at pass protection. He can run the football. He can catch the ball. Those are the type of rookies that he's too. I don't know that one off the top of my head, but I can look it up for you.
So one of the things that I think about a lot with football, and I think you'd agree with this, is with running backs, there's generally like a bell curve of getting the strength and stamina to endure a season. And then when you hit a peak of it, you just can't do this anymore. And there are some guys, Frank Gore, I don't know how, just kind of goes through it and does it constantly. I saw your 300th ranking.
I was going to ask you, did you see that little
Easter egg? I certainly did, buddy. And also I have seen rookies and younger guys who come in. It's really exciting. They can't they can't maintain it, or also the coaches say, yeah, we can't let him do this. So I get a little worried going after the rookie RB a lot, unless I see like a just behemoth of a man, someone who's just, oh my gosh, this is absurd how jacked you are and ready to do it.
5'8", 208 pounds. He's over that 200-pound threshold, so that's 5'8".
Okay.
Isn't
but would you say? I mean, I guess is the question I'm asking is like, is this someone who you think can really take on the workload of a season?
Absolutely, and Pete Carroll is his head coach. He's going to get fed the ball early and often. Honestly, I would not. I know. It would not shock me to see Ashton Jeanty finish as the RB1 overall in this season. It would take a lot of things to go right, but I get what you're saying about rookie running backs, but I tend to favor them and younger running backs because of what you said. Sure. They've got all those tools. They've got the skills, and granted, they haven't done it at the professional level, but they don't quite have that tread worn off their tires as guys like Saquon Barkley or McCaffery. So that's why I like to go towards those younger running backs. There's definitely some more volatility because we've not yet seen them prove it on the field at the professional level, but it's something that I think mitigates a little bit of that injury risk.
Nice. All right. So I am going to go. I'm going to stick with RBs then. We're going to do wide receivers soon then, because I like that we're here right now. And the first question I always ask, who are the bell cows? How many of those do we have this year?
So there's bell cows and there's elite talent. So there.
No, I want bell cows first.
Okay, bell cows. Bijan Robinson.
Yep.
Saquon Barkley.
Sounds like Ashton was one of those guys.
Yeah, Ashton Jeanty, although he does have Raheem Mostert, who is
that guy, yeah. Yeah. Wasn't he like what was it? It was San Francisco, then Miami?
Yeah, well done. Yep. He was on
my gosh.
San Francisco, Miami, and like 2 years ago he came out of nowhere to have a breakout season at 31 years old or something along those lines. Yeah. So and actually another name that you like, Jahmyr White, is on this team as well, who he was
I like him.
Unfortunately not didn't live up to the hype of what he could have been. He's actually from North Carolina, like 30 minutes down the road. So I was cheering for him as a North Carolinian, but he just unfortunately was not able to live up to his potential. But yeah, Ashton Jeanty is going to be a bell cow. And then
Gibbs as well with the Tigers. No, it's David
That's
Montgomery.
Where I was saying the Tigers, they were good. There's the first one where you called the
oh my gosh, the Lions. They're like, I don't know what it is. Are they also the Bears? I mean, come on. It's I know that's hard to say Chicago. I can't believe the whole Wizard of Oz theme going on there.
You went you said the Phillies, I think, a few times.
I'm sure I did.
Yeah, not on this time, but I noticed that, and I was waiting to see how long you got a while in before you hit that. So not too bad.
Oh no.
So Jahmyr Gibbs was the guy that I had in mind when I said there's the bell cows and there's the studs. Jahmyr Gibbs is not a bell cow, but with the offensive system the way it's been, I don't know if you've heard their nickname with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. They are Sonic and Knuckles. Sonic is Jahmyr Gibbs.
Who's Tails? Goff?
Actually, I do think that they said that. I've heard that before. I got to look. I'll see if I can find the video. I think that
he's the support. He's just like, all right, I'm not going to do this. I'm just giving you the ball here. I'm not. Don't let me do it.
His face does kind of give off a Tails face, but no, Jeanty is one of those that doesn't need that bell cow volume. Excuse me, not Jeanty. Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't need that bell cow volume to be one of the elite running backs because of the system, because especially in PPR, he gets a lot of pass catches as well.
So there's two thought processes there, right? One is, well, I want the bell cow because I know I'm going to get the opportunities. And it's one of the things I complain about all the time about football versus baseball is that in baseball, they'll get their at-bats. And in football, it's like, well, the game plan just didn't work out and they just didn't get an opportunity to show their talent, right? So bell cows are going to get those touches more often and opportunities, which means that you are going to get points every week, which is honestly, to me, I generally favor that more. I would imagine you agree with that, of just making sure you don't have a sub 10 point score, right? But on the other side of it, what I'm hearing is if he does get that workload, it's so much higher. And he actually has, in some ways, arguably a higher floor because he doesn't require the amount of touches to get his production. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing I would argue too is, if he doesn't have that much volume, if he's not on the field as much, less of a chance of him getting hurt on the field. With the more carries, the more you're going to wear down during the season, the more the bigger of a toll it's going to take on your body.
Is on that, actually, I'm very curious.
Maybe that's an article idea. I'll have to.
Yeah, we have some people. We can figure that one out. That's a very interesting point that got me thinking a bit. So I want to know more about that one. But moving on here, we cannot trust Christian McCaffrey. I'm sorry, that's just gone. Bye-bye. I'm not going to risk my season on that. And I see continue on with the bell cow, though. I want to stick with that thread for a second. So Bucky Irving, I guess he's a bell cow in Tampa Bay?
Yes. Yeah, he's somebody who he's a really good example of where a bell cow isn't necessarily the best way to go. And what I mean by that is the season before, Rachaad White was the bell cow for the Buccaneers. He had over 1,000 rushing yards. He took the majority of the touches, but he was extremely inefficient. He was one of the least efficient runners in the entire league. They drafted Bucky Irving. He came in. He was much more productive, and he overtook the backfield. Rachaad White was still in there for passing downs, and he still had Rachaad White had an okay fantasy season. He was more along the borderline RB2 flex range, but Bucky Irving was so much better on the ground. He was capable. Rachaad White's probably the better pass catcher, but Bucky Irving is good enough. Rachaad White's already dealing with an injury. I believe it was a groin injury. He pulled his groin in the first preseason game that the Buccaneers had.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. It's not like a guy that plays running back would need to have the ability to move his legs or anything along those lines.
So I'm going to go quick a little with you just because
Sure.
I'm realizing, oh my gosh, I only have so much time with you. We haven't touched wide receivers and then tight ends and defense. So Bucky Irving seems like he's a relatively safe one. We were talking about the Bucks, and we were kind of saying like, all right, it's going to be worse this year. And a lot of the numbers we see from the Rays last year. Oh my gosh, stop. The Bucks last year. It's still baseball season. I'm sorry, everyone. I apologize. Is that okay? We're going to take everything and go down a little bit. So it does make me feel a little bit hesitant to go after Bucky at 5, but then again, I don't know what the rest of the pool is. So then you have the other Florida team in Miami. Devon, is he now the main guy there? Is it the same kind of deal with Irving?
Yes, he is the guy. He's and he was going into last season. There was some questions that because of the season Raheem Mostert had the season prior to that he would get a little more work, and Devon Achane is a little on the smaller side. So there's some concern about if he's able to handle that workload, but he's so involved in the passing game, similar to Jahmyr Gibbs, where he doesn't need, he's not a bell cow, but he's going to be getting the majority of the touches, the high value touches, and he's a threat to score touchdown anytime he touches the ball.
Okay. And I'm not going to go after Kenneth Walker because it's Sam Darnold. No, thank you. I'm sorry. Yep. I know you can't throw it, so you're going to have to go, but that means that also I'm in the thought process of if you have a bad wide receiver core, then actually it hurts the running back or like a bad QB and everything, because then they're going to pack the whatever it's called,
So one thing I do want to bring up, and it's a great point. It's from something that you mentioned earlier, the importance of offensive line. Sam Darnold is the perfect example of this. He set career highs last season behind the Vikings offensive line that I was talking about as one of the best in the entire NFL. But he's historically struggled under pressure. That's been his main issue. Last season, the Minnesota Vikings ranked first in time to pressure. So how many seconds go by before the quarterback faces pressure? First in time to throw, first to scramble, and 8th in times to sack. So he had plenty of time behind that offensive line. He's now a member of the Seattle Seahawks. Now, granted, some different players, but they're not going to instantly become one of the best in the league. Last season, Seattle ranked 20th in time to pressure, 13th in time to throw, 28th in time to scramble, 26th in time to sack. So his offensive
me out,
line
man.
is
I'm just all of the Seattle stuff. I'm just gone. I'm sorry. I will not touch the Jackson Smith. No, thank you.
Yep,
I
I'm
don't
with you.
want to
He's
try
another
to
guy that I'm
pronounce
not
the
on
last
him.
name. Don't want to try and do that.
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Ningjimba. Okay, cool, awesome, and not going to touch him. Metcalf is still there, maybe not. Where is he?
Nope, he is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, we'll talk about them soon enough. But I'm out on Kenneth Walker then. What about Derrick Henry? He's with Lamar Jackson. That's great. That's a good situation. He was great last year. Right, everything's cool there.
Yeah, I wrote in my article. He's somebody that I've finally just giving up on him, because normally he's 32 years old. He's one of those guys that has had a lot of touches over his career. I prefer to get out a year early on running backs versus a year late. He's proven me wrong past 4 or 5 years now. He's supposed to have taken that step back, and he's a beast. That's really as simple as it is. And yeah,
I'm gonna
he decides he's done.
I'll be the one that is, a year to the wrong year. I'll be the one with hot potato there. Christian McCaffery told you I just know I can't do that. Then we have James Cook, Chase Brown, and Jonathan Taylor. It looks like a lot of people are higher on Chase Brown than you are. What is the situation in Cincinnati? They're protecting Joe Burrow, and then they get like an amazing offensive line because he was just so destroyed in the Super Bowl.
You would think that would be the case, but they've not really. They've improved it, but it is not where you would want it to be with what we've seen from injury history with Joe Burrow. And Chase Brown is a really good example of why volume, although it's the right process to chase the volume, you want, no pun intended, you want that volume. When they're not efficient, those are the things that you have to worry about these guys losing their job, that if he's easily replaced, because if it's just the volume, somebody else comes in, is just a little bit more explosive, a little bit better, they could lose their job. I don't think that's going to happen with Chase Brown, but I think it's more in his range of outcomes than it is for some of the guys that are going around him. He only rushed for 4.3 yards per carry last season, had a 4.4 explosive run rate, which was 23rd out of the 46 running backs with at least 100 carries. He got 229 rushing attempts. And the one thing I will say that helps with his floor is his usage in the pass game. He had 63 targets, but they brought in rookie Taj Brooks. They used to have a wide receiver named Taj Boyd, but
I do remember that actually. We were Boyd boys.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm there.
I used to have Matthew Boyd in my dynasty league, and
there you go.
But I
do want to. Okay, so okay, Chase Brown just seemed like he's that guy though, right? With Joe Burrow.
Yeah, for now, yeah. The thing, my concern is
I'm saying that I like Chase Brown because I think that Burrow and Chase are going to be the main focus of whatever defense comes through. Chase Brown is going to be a big benefactor of that. That's how I see it. Also with T. Higgins there in Cincinnati too, it just opens the door for Chase Brown to be consistently a threat. So I dig that. I'm here for Chase Brown. That is my stamp. I'm going to go on to say Josh Jacobs, Kyren Williams, and I'm getting the sense at this point when we get to it, it's like, all right, you have the guys that you're expecting with volume for the most part as the leading back, right? And at what point do we go down here? I mean, after, outside of David Montgomery, that you're actually getting some worry that they might not have the leading job on day one?
Probably right after Kyren Williams.
Okay, so this is tier 5 with Travion Henderson, David Montgomery, Jordan Mason, Marion Hampton, and Breece Hall.
I think Travion Henderson, Jordan Mason, and Marion Hampton will finish the season as the lead backs. But Marion Hampton and Henderson are both rookies coming in. They have veteran running backs who are capable, already on the team, and especially the Chargers, they like to use a lot of running backs, although Najee Harris is dealing with an eye injury from a freak 4th of July accident. We still don't know what exactly is going on there.
I wonder what happened. It could not have been fireworks.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But they haven't given any information on that. But
oh wow, that's this
is my favorite area of the draft to take running backs, because people are naturally avoidant of these ambiguous backfields, as JJ Zacharyson likes to call them. And that's where you get your most value. You're not taking as much of a risk. You don't have to take them as high. But once these rookies get that volume, if they take over the backfield, they'll jump right into that high
who's
end.
Jordan Mason?
So, Jordan Mason, that is a name that Reddit and I have had some pretty in-depth conversations.
And look, I'll be honest with you, 2 first names, I generally don't go for this.
That's fair. That's fair. But the thing is, it's not only Jordan Mason, but it's also Aaron Jones. And that's what has a lot of people upset of how I ranked him so low. And this is another situation where I feel it's going to be like Bucky Irving and Rachaad White from last season. Aaron Jones has been a fantastic option for a fantasy running back over the past 5-6 seasons or so, but 30 years old, which is ancient for a running back. He, over the past 10 seasons, I lost my place. Let's start that right back. Over the past 10 seasons, there's only been 14 running backs over the age of 30 that have averaged 12 or more fantasy points and played in at least 8 games. He was extremely inefficient. He totaled -2 rushing yards on 13 carries inside the 5. That is not a mistake or typo.
Oh my gosh, that sounds
totaled
bad.
-2 yards on the goal line. And they made the move. They did sign him. He's still going to be a part of this team, at least on paper, but I do think that Jordan Mason is going to be the one that takes over this backfield.
What is his talent, Jordan Mason? Is he a rookie?
He is not a rookie. I believe he's his 3rd year or so, but this is where doing something like charting is really important and where you're able to see things that you might not necessarily see in the box score. I've liked Jordan Mason for a few seasons now, if you ever got the opportunity, because of what I saw while I was charting games when he came in. He's just explosive. You can see it on the field. He does a really good job of waiting for the offensive line to open the holes. He's another guy that can take it, run a touchdown in pretty much anytime he touches the ball. It's explosive. He had the 2nd highest explosive run rate, which is over 15 or more yards in the entire league last season. 5.2 yards per carry, 3.3 yards after contact. So even after one of the guys come at him, he's still able to rack up extra yards. His 25.5 avoided tackle rate was right outside the top 5. So he's got the efficiency, he's got the explosiveness, he's got the age, offensive line. He's got a lot of the things that I look for in those guys that are going to jump.
So it does seem to me that Cook is going to get the first opportunity, though. Am I wrong about that?
Aaron Jones, you mean?
Yes.
Dalvin Cook did used to be a Minnesota Viking. So
yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Oh, man.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing is, they've already talked about it's going to be a 1A and 1B situation. Okay. And that Jordan Mason is going to have the goal line work. So it's already close to a 50-50 split, even if it's 55-45. Mason has the more valuable.
It's going to be productive for you to have Mason there. Okay.
Right.
So that seems like a good pick to make that also has the potential of being that top 10 kind of player. I dig that thought process a lot. Why is Chubba Hubbard, after, what was it, like a top 5 season last year or something like that? It was something ridiculous. Why is he 21? Do we hate the Carolina Panthers now?
We do not, although I do get some flack from Panthers fans living in North Carolina. The thing for me is people are underestimating Rico Dowdle, who came over from Dallas last season. Mm-hmm. He is a much better pass catcher than Chubba Hubbard. Chuba's explosive.
It's Chubba. Oh, man. Thank you.
What's that?
It's Chubba. Oh, I didn't know this. Okay.
Chubba Hubbard. There you go. There's another name for you. And he was expected to give up the job to Jonathan Brooks, who the Panthers drafted last season. Unfortunately, tore his ACL for the 2nd time in as many years. So it was not too pretty of a scene there. But Chubba, I think, is one of those that still has some upside, but that ceiling is limited. He's got the floor because of the volume, but I feel like his ceiling is limited because of Rico Dowdle coming in and not only taking some touches away, but for PPR leagues, the more valuable touches on those 3rd downs where you're going to get a lot more of the targets.
So one of the things I really like to focus on is the QB pairing, of course. And one thing that had me really in on, I think it was Taylor when he had his phenomenal year, was that, well, Goff was there and Goff likes to dump it off to the side. And he does that a ton. So I'm generally just like, all right, whoever the Detroit running back is, because I feel like that's a good offensive line.
What's funny is you did the exact same thing last year, mixing up the Indianapolis Colts and the Detroit Lions.
I'm doing that right now. Yep, I'm doing that exact thing right now. They have the same color scheme.
I think exactly
the Midwest. Oh my gosh!
Exactly what you said.
By the way, this is also another reason why I love Jay. Jay took the time to listen to this podcast last year, so he knew he was ready for. So now he's reminding me of all these things I don't remember whatsoever. Who is the Indy QB right now?
Well, right now it's either Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, old Danny Dimes from the New York Giants. Which,
oh my gosh,
Anthony Richardson dislocated his pinky in the first game.
Okay, wait, was that last year or 2 years ago that he was the thing?
Who's that? Anthony Richardson 2 years ago. People were hype on him last year too, but his rookie season is when everybody was.
It was like
really excited because they didn't see him.
This is really great, and then all of a sudden he got hurt, and he's going to be hurt again. So you're going to see Danny Dimes. Oh, boy.
I think you'll see both of them. And actually, I have Daniel Jones as one of my post-type sleepers, and it's one of those that not necessarily. I don't think he's going to have a snowball's chance of being a top 15 quarterback. Let me take that back. I could see him maybe sneaking into the bottom 10.
Yeah.
Somewhere in like like if he has a horseshoe up his rear end. But other than that, if he's had time, he's been a decent enough passer. And he does have some rushing upside as well. Off
to Taylor is my point.
Yes. Yeah. We saw it with Saquon Barkley. So yeah.
All right, cool. So, and then I'm just trying to understand, like, who are the main ones who I expect to be dumping off a lot to the side. And generally I see that more so from veteran footed guys than I do like the young ones who want to make the big plays all the time, right? So
the traditional guys that stay in the pocket a little more,
right?
Those guys you'll see.
Right. So I would think that, like, I mean, actually, you could kind of see McCarthy doing a little bit, but I think of, okay, cool, the Chargers with Justin Herbert did that a ton with Eckler. So I'm seeing Amari and Hampton here, and I'm also seeing that is it just him, or is it there another guy that he's fighting with?
That's Najee Harris, who they signed before the draft, but he's the one with the firework.
I am going with Amari and Hampton completely here.
You can't go wrong with
makes
that.
All the sense to me. And I'm trying to think
of the one thing I will say about Amari and Hampton looking for the pass. Greg Roman, which everybody loves attacking running backs from Greg Roman offense. He was in Baltimore for a long time and always had productive backs, but traditionally they've not quite gotten the pass volume you would hope for in a stud running back. Now, every situation's different. It's not necessarily, I'm not saying that is what's going to happen, but historically, running backs in Greg Roman systems haven't seen a ton of targets.
You telling me Roman was with the Ravens?
Yes.
Okay, well, that was also Lamar Jackson. This is Herbert.
Correct.
So I would think that's going to be a little different.
Absolutely. And he's not had a guy like Amari and Hampton who is capable of.
So he's a big talent guy, Hampton.
Yes. Yeah.
Hampton, okay, so that's the next question I had here is, so all right, who are the ones that are fighting for that first spot? Who are the big talent ones?
Both Travion Henderson and Amari and Hampton.
Okay, but outside of the top 20 that you have here.
Oh, so outside of the top 20,
yes.
Got RJ Harvey in Denver. He's another guy that I could see making a big leap if he's able to get the volume.
I like that because Bo Nix isn't like this big whatever. He's like, all right, I'll just dump this one.
He rushes a little bit actually. He rushed a decent amount last year, but he wasn't very efficient, and that's actually why I'm down on Bo Nix compared to most. I think because they have RJ Harvey, they won't need Bo Nix to run as much.
Sure.
So I'm with you there. RJ Harvey, they signed, and actually you can probably get a little bit of a discount on him because they signed J.K. Dobbins late in the offseason, who's a part of this team. Man.
Isn't it weird how much these guys just interchange between the league? It's so strange. Like, all right.
from Baltimore to the Chargers to the Broncos. So nice little segue there.
It's almost like their skill sets are not as wide as it is in other sports. Almost, I don't know. It's strange to me.
Almost as if running backs don't matter.
Oh boy. God. Then the whole thing just about like, well, they get so hurt and they sacrifice and they don't. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like this conversation at all. I see also with Pittsburgh here, you have Caleb Johnson. I don't know really what's going on with Pittsburgh.
So Caleb Johnson is somebody who I kind of like him. My only concern is they do have Jaylen Warren, who I'm not high on talent-wise, but Arthur Smith, who is the offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers, has traditionally been one of those that sticks to his guys, whether they're efficient or not. He has his guys, and they're going to get their touches. Mm-hmm. And I think Jaylen Warren is going to take away Caleb Johnson's ceiling. I do think it'll be Caleb Johnson's backfield before the end of the year, but Warren is going to be a thorn in his side. And Caleb Johnson, granted, it's a preseason, it's early. He hasn't looked that great this preseason. That's not necessarily too much of a takeaway, but I would be a lot more encouraged if he looked good.
Keep going here from like the talent backs who are trying to make their way as from being the clear SP2 or SP2, my gosh, RB2 of the team.
That baseball, it's all right. We'll get you.
I'm not trying to say that I'm a good football guy, guys. I'm the noob here, helping all of you out. Picking the questions from Jay. Yeah, tell us, who is that elite guy that, given the opportunity, could really soar?
I'm really big on Trey Benson this year over in Arizona. He's going around running back 46, and they've already been, even the starter ahead of him has talked about how he's going to get more work. James Conner is a guy who is perennially underrated. He's one of those guys that just gets it done every year, but he's getting up there in age too, and he kind of took a step back in efficiency as the season went on. And the second half of the season, Trey Benson was actually more efficient. Benson had 5.7 yards point carry to Connor's 4.8, which is still great. Like, Connor was good. Benson was better. And he had a higher avoided tackle rate, yards after contact. Now, he didn't have quite as many touches. So, just like as in baseball, you get more at bats here. Your chances are your average is going to go down. You get more touches, your yards per carry is probably going to go down. But consider everything. James Conner's had a hard time staying on the field over his career, his age. Benson is young. He's got the talent. He's somebody I'm really big on, and you can get late, and that could have the overused term league-winning potential.
Yes, very much so. I just want to draft Trey Benson and Jalen Hurts just so my team can be living in Benson Hurts. And that is a wonderful Brooklyn joke. Okay. The way I'm thinking about all of these is, hold on a second. I'm going through your entire ranks here, and I'm trying to find, and I can't, who the second running back is in Chicago. And it's Kyle Monaghy. Is that right?
I am honestly, that is one of the names I try to. Try my best to. What's that?
Roshan Johnson is the second highest rank.
Well, Roshan Johnson, that's the thing. Roshan Johnson's another one of those guys that a lot of people were super hyped on. They wanted him to be a thing. He got the chance. He wasn't, and people are just, they've been burned. They want nothing to do with him, but I like him a little more than most.
Well, okay, so it's Swift's backfield, right?
Should be, yeah. He's the guy. He's the number one. He's the guy that is going to get the most touches, but there's going to be another running back involved. It's not going to be a bell cow season or anything. Okay. DeAndre Swift isn't built to be a bell cow back. And with Ben Johnson coming over from the Detroit Lions, he likes to run a system where they run multiple running backs. So I expect somebody else to get additional touches.
So then you should like Roshan Johnson as kind of a backup running back for you.
And the thing that I like about Roshan Johnson is even though he was extremely inefficient last season, he was still on the field a lot because he's good in short yardage situations and he's good in pass protection. So they didn't add anybody significant. They knew what they had. They kept him around. This new offensive system, hopefully a better offensive line. I think there's a chance that he does make a pretty significant leap. And if he doesn't, he costs you next to nothing to draft. So
okay. So it won't be the third straight year that my team is Swift never misses. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that to myself. All right. So I am going to move from this, but I will say RJ Harvey is one guy I'm absolutely circling. I'd say him and Amarian Hampton are part of my targets, I believe, for running back. While it does very much seem like there is a giant gap between the elite running backs and really the RB2s. So this is one of the things that I talk about with football a lot is it really does depend on your draft pick of where you are 1 through 12. It just kind of dictates who you get. It is that way a little bit in baseball, but it's more so, I think, in football for the first 4 rounds, and really does influence the entire season. So I might be more inclined if it says no, everything says that you have to take this wide receiver instead. I say, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to do this instead sometimes. And on that, we are going to go to wide receivers and then briefly touch on tight ends and defenses. And we're going to do that after this break. Okay, wide receivers. So I know Jamar Chase. I know Justin Jefferson. I can't do Malik Neighbors. I'm sorry. Whoever the Giants QB is, I just don't trust enough. And I don't.
Russell Wilson for now, but I think by the end of the season, it is. Yes,
is it really?
Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and
what is it about New York and quarterbacks? I don't. Since Eli Manning, there's been nothing.
That's the problem. We had Daniel Jones. That's the
problem.
I mean,
we've had a lot. There's been Brett Favre and there's been Aaron Rodgers and
but you can't lump it
and Sam Darnold, and wasn't that other Oklahoma first overall pick guy, Sam Bradford or something like that?
No, Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson, that's the one I'm thinking of too.
But you're intertwining histories. That's like putting the Mets and the Yankees in the same sentence.
Sam Darnold and Wilson are like the same person, but that's just me.
Wilson does at least have a Super Bowl ring, so he's got that going for him.
Does he really? Mm-hmm. With who?
The Seahawks. His first year. Or second, I'm sorry, second year.
Okay.
He beat Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl.
Who was the QB? Was he wasn't the QB.
Yeah, Russell Wilson.
Oh, Russell Wilson. Oh, I'm thinking of the two guys.
Oh, well, that's what. Okay,
Sam Darnold
I get what you're saying. Then, yeah,
whatever.
Russell Wilson is the quarterback.
Yeah, Russell Wilson.
Okay, I understand why you reacted that way.
Okay. Anyway, going back to this, I understand the Malik Neighbors are just still going to be great anyway, and that's why you're doing this. But I don't know. It always just bothers me when it's like I don't like the person throwing to it. I don't trust this.
I get that, and the thing is, Malik Neighbors was able to overcome Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, and Tommy DeVito last year, and still put up the type of season he did.
Oh, that's a good point.
All Russell Wilson has to be is close to average, and Malik Neighbors can have an elite
that would be nice, wouldn't it? All right, so then going to the tier 2, Brian Thomas Jr., AJ Brown, Drake London, Nico Collins, and Ladd McConkey. I mean, this is incredible because I have no idea who at least 2 of these are. I know, and only 2 of these. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I consider a lot when it comes to wide receivers is it a one wide receiver focus on this team? And if so, I generally want the second guy all the time. That's just how I always think about it, where the second guy always gets undervalued underneath the first one because it's 1 to 2. But then you have your Waddle situation, right? Then you have, if that guy gets hurt, all of a sudden this guy turns into the thing. I remember when Nico Collins, I had him that first year when he was all of a sudden better than the other guy that wasn't as good. And it's just, okay, it's not always going to be that wide receiver 1 doing it. So I guess my biggest question really is, do you think that all of these wide receivers, are better than the counterpart running backs that could be drafting? And two, who are the ones that are getting paired with these elite wide receivers who then you'd be targeting?
So the question is one, who that the running backs that are going in this range?
Yeah.
Compared to
and
these
are you
wide
favoring these
receivers,
wide receivers over them, or are you favoring like at what point do you say, okay, running backs, then wide receivers kind of feel?
So I would probably draw the line somewhere around in the middle of probably after tier 2, but closer to the Puka Nakuas, the Garrett Wilsons. That's really where I would say there's a pretty steep drop off where I would look to go for the running back over one of those guys. You know, Ladd McConkey, Nico Collins, like the guys all above. And even Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm down on him compared to most. He's put up back-to-back 1,000-yard, I think 10 touchdown seasons, top 5 seasons. So I'm just a little concerned with what this offense is going to look like for him to remain in that. And that's the thing is, I'm not out on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I still think he's going to be a wide receiver 1, but having to take him among the top 5 is not something I'm willing to do because I think there's enough red flags to make that a concern.
Sure. Yeah, no, I totally get that. So I guess when it comes to like how I'm situating my draft, right? I'm very much, even though it's really nice having these wide receivers, I'm going to get like if people want to say, look, Ja'Marr Chase, you just got to take him first, or Justin Jefferson first. Fine. But I don't want to take Malik Neighbors. CD Brown's always been good. Fine. But to me, it's like, no, you got to get the running back. The running back is just it's so much harder to replace, in my view, than it is the wide receiver. Because wide receiver, every team has 2 of them, at least, if not 3, that you can get value from. Running back, it's far fewer. So getting one that is actually of that talent that you can be like, hey, look, I know that I'm set here is really hard to find, honestly. We talk about a lot of like, oh, this guy's really good or whatever, but then the season comes and you've realized that they're not getting the opportunities that you want them to, or they're just not that kind of guy. And it's a kind of a regretful moment, right? As a fantasy manager. So you want to eliminate that as much as possible and really be honest with yourself about who are the players that you can actually have some sort of flag with that with, right?
And that's why I try to go for the hero. That's my favorite strategy, depending on what's available.
Before, and I love that. So, and your heroes would be only for the first 4, is that right? Bijan Robinson, Ashton, Gibbs, and Barkley?
Yeah, that's probably would be the only ones I'm comfortable now. Most people would also consider the next couple of guys, the Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey, but I'm not comfortable.
So here's the thing. Okay, let's say I'm draft pick 10. Right? Those 4 should be gone. I would imagine Lamb, Neighbors, Jefferson, Chase is gone. Let's go with Brian Thomas Jr. maybe is gone, or I don't want to take Nico Collins at 10th. I don't know. I just feel like he's not that amazing, is he?
If he can stay on the field, he is. But there's some question marks with his availability. And also, I like CJ Stroud. I think he's extremely talented, and I think that he's going to be better than he was last season. But their offensive line is still a concern. They also added competition for targets for Nico Collins. He's going to be the undisputed wide receiver 1 on this team, but they added 2 rookie wide receivers out of Iowa State, excuse me. Jalen Noel and Higgins is the other one as well. Both guys that are extremely talented. They traded for Christian Kirk from Jacksonville. So I don't think that the targets are going to be as concentrated for him as they have been in the past. Also concerned, like I said, with the offensive line, if CJ Stroud's going to have enough time.
Why is Waddle at 17?
Because I'm out on I'm out on Tyreek Hill. I believe I'm a Jalen Waddle truther, as you will.
That's what I'm saying. But he's at 17. Why isn't he being treated like Collins and Drake London and Ladd McConkey?
He's not had that type of season since his rookie year. He was phenomenal his rookie year, but he's been injured past couple of seasons. He's just not made that leap that we hoped and thought that he could. There's some additional risk with him. And he's also,
I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is like, is it just based on his health history? Because that is just kind of like, well, I don't know.
Well, it's a number of things. It's the health history. It's also Tyreek Hill is still on this team. While I don't think he's going to be elite, he is going to take away a significant amount of targets. And Tua, he's always the risk with what happened last season with the concussions. That God forbid, but if he were to take another big hit and have a concussion, his career might be over. So there's a lot more red flags with Waddle than some of these others.
This is tough because I don't feel great about anyone after like the first 5, which is awesome. So I mean, here I am. I'm draft pick 10, and think about it like this, right? So I'm getting the 10th pick. I'm also getting the 15th pick, right? What am I trying to go for here, and how would you construct a team from that position?
The thing I try to do in the first couple of rounds is, all these guys, first, second, and most of the third, talent-wise, they're all there. You're looking to get somebody who is the least amount of risk, the least amount of red flags,
absolutely,
while still having that elite upside. So it's kind of the not necessarily narrative street, but what you're more comfortable with, what type of risk you're willing to take. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, if he stays healthy and you're able to get him here, I mean, that's a league-winning type of move made in the first round. It really just depends on the type of risk you're willing to take. Do you want to go for somebody who is looking to make that leap into the next tier? Do you want that guy who's initially has been a stud, been a league winner over the past couple of seasons, but has those health risks based on the touches with the Christian McCaffreys, the Derrick Henry? So I'm the type, like I said, I prefer to get out a year too early versus a year late. So I would take a shot on one of those guys, the Nico Collinses, I wouldn't say Lad McConkey, if he's even going to be available there. I would rather take a shot on the younger guy who hasn't necessarily proven it on the field like the older vets. I prefer to take the shot on the youth and the upside versus the
so who is
down vets.
Exactly. So like, I'm seeing in your
from
rankings
a wide receiver perspective,
it's like Brian Thomas Jr., Bucky Irving, AJ Brown, Devon. I keep saying it wrong. A King,
and it's actually I think most of the fantasy industry says it wrong. It's either A-Chain. I think we've said A-Chain, but it's like Achan, I believe, is actually how you pronounce it.
Devon Achan, and then Drake London, Nico Collins, Lad McConkey, Kenneth Walker III, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey. That's how you have it 9 through 18. Okay. And in my head, as I go into this, who am I really trying to get there? What's the pairing essentially that you're hoping for?
Brian Thomas Jr., without question, out of that grouping, is without a doubt. He's somebody who I generally don't like to draft guys the year after their breakout because you're essentially buying all the risk. You lose that value that you got on them the previous season. But considering having Liam Cohen coming over from Tampa Bay, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be the top option. I think he's one that is going to be able to repeat what he did last season. AJ Brown is somebody, he's an older vet that I don't think gets enough love because of.
I was going to say AJ Brown's just been so consistently great. Like, have you ever been burned getting AJ Brown?
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
Totally fine. I'll go with that.
Yeah. He scored 7 touchdowns and surpassed 1,000 receiving yards every single season since he's been in Philadelphia. He's safe and he still has the upside of the guys around him. He's just not the sexy name anymore, and people, want to get the newest, latest, greatest. And
then I would honestly say Derrick Henry. If I'm not getting a running back in the first round, I feel like Derrick Henry is the one that I would just be like, fine, I'll just take this and be happy.
Between CMC and Henry, I would probably lean. I was going to say.
I don't know. You have him 17, 18. Henry over McCaffrey here. So
yeah, I would probably stick with Henry because he's proven me wrong so many times. Yeah, so once he has a season that he finally falls off the cliff, you can thank me because I.
The good news is that Ashton Jeanty is, which by the way, Jeanty, I'm just going to call you the, what should I do? Let me think here. What's the perfect band that's like slightly gent? Because he's genty. If you don't know what gent is, by the way, it's metal where they go gent, 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 gent. That's why it's called that.
I did not know that terminology, but
yeah, it's DJENT. It's pretty hilarious. All right. But he's going 18th overall, apparently. So I guess I'm just getting Genty everywhere, which is great.
Yeah, if you can get him there, that's
I'm just super happy with that.
The Flex League draft I did a couple weeks ago, he went in the top 6.
Well, all right. I will mention that I want to return to a question before I had with the wide receivers. The number 2 guys who essentially are at wide receiver 1s and like could be in this conversation of like top, should like a first rounder if the guy in front of them either isn't focused on anymore or gets hurt. Who are those wide receivers?
So there's a couple of them that I really like this season, and Rome Odunze over in Chicago. A lot of people that's a name that people got burned by last season and just want to completely avoid. As you can tell, I've talked a lot about their offense. I'm all in on the Chicago offense with Ben Johnson as their, technically he's their head coach, but he's going to be calling plays. So head coach / offensive coordinator, he's going to have the joysticks for this offense. And Rome Odunze came on strong towards the end of last season. There was Keenan Allen was there, and I think he definitely surprised me how much of the target share that he ate into of Rome Odunze, but he led the Bears, and Rome Odunze, that is, led the Bears yards per target, yards per reception, deep targets, air yard share, and average depth of target. And you want to target those guys when you're looking for those wide receiver 2s that may not get quite as many targets as the others. You want those that have a large air yard share and a high average depth of target, because there's a bigger chance for a greater chance for bigger plays, those long downfield throws that potentially turn for touchdowns. If you're not going to get as many catches, well, you want ones that you're going to get yards and chunks. He had, at the beginning of the season, he averaged just over 5 targets a game. That jumps to 6.9 targets week 9 through 17. So he's somebody that technically DJ Moore, who I do like this season, is the wide receiver 1 of this offense. I'm going to have a lot of Rome Odunze this season.
Talk to me about the, by the way, I love that I took Rome Odunze last year and Swift and Caleb Williams. Well, I didn't actually draft Caleb Williams, but I was hoping to. And that didn't work. So I'm burned, but I love your idea of, look, just because it doesn't work in the first season doesn't mean it won't work in the next one. I think we certainly do get burned to that all the time. Guys, the past is not the future. Okay.
Just ask. I got here. I got you a Spencer Torkelson for you. It could be a Spencer Torkelson.
No. You're trying to appeal to me, but you're doing hitters, Jay. I do pitchers. I only talk about pitchers.
Right. I was just talking about the guy that burned people that
I did draft him this year, though. It was Torque, and it's been great. Okay. Now in Buffalo, though, I'm seeing in consensus rankings, 39 is the first receiver, and that's Shakir. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's good to be a receiver with Josh Allen, no?
That is correct. That is correct. Josh Allen is a pretty good thrower of the football. I will say that.
So what is the problem with Shakir?
Well, when you and I talked a few weeks ago, we were talking about some glossary terms for QB lists, similar to what you have over at Pitcher List. This is actually the second one. I've coined the term Khalil Shakir is a McDouble. He's solid. He's not spectacular. He's there when you need him. He gets the job done, but it's not something you're going to be excited about. Not something that's going to take you to that next level. So he's the short yardage and middle of the field guy for Josh Allen. He's the one that he's not going to have the big plays. They're no longer on the team. Amari Cooper, Mac Hollins, even the tight end, Dalton Kincaid, all had higher average depth of target than Khalil Shakir. He was he was a leading target getter on the team, and he didn't even surpass 100 targets. So he's fine. He's more of like a flex. I would rather have him as a flex play or a bye week fill in, but he did get over that 10-point threshold in 11 of 15 games played. So he's a double.
That's pretty good. And so the deep option there is who? Keon Coleman?
Possibly. Keon Coleman, he's the one that they hope, because they wound up taking him in the second round of last year's draft when they traded down. They could have had Xavier Worthy, but they traded with the Kansas City Chiefs. I personally like Joshua Palmer. He's somebody who I am higher on than most. But you got Keon Coleman, you've got Joshua Palmer. They signed Elijah Moore from, I don't even remember where. I think he was with the Cleveland last year. He's been with the Jets. He's been kind of all over the place. But like I said, Matt Collins and Amari Cooper, they're no longer on this team. They were the only other wide receivers other than Keon Coleman that had an average depth of target over 10 yards. They signed Palmer. They signed Elijah Moore, but we've seen Palmer do it on a little bit more consistent basis. Elijah Moore did have a stretch there in his rookie year, but we haven't seen it since.
Mm-hmm.
Palmer, even though he was fourth in targets for the Chargers last season, he accounted for 25.6% of their air yards. So over a fourth of their air yards, and he ranked second on the team in deep targets.
So talk to me now about the Packers, because I'm seeing Matthew Golden as your highest ranked Packer at 34. But you're also saying, hey, I like Jordan Love this year. So that would mean Matthew Golden would eat. So
the Packers are one of those teams similar to, like we talked about earlier, the ambiguous running back by committee. They've got a lot of talented wide receivers, so people tend to avoid them because they want that wide receiver one. But this offense is an explosive offense. They like to throw the ball down the field a lot. I think there's going to be value in all of these guys. And Jayden Reed has been the best receiver on this team over the past few seasons, but the Packers drafted Golden in the first round. The first wide receiver they drafted in the first round, I believe, since 2002, Javon Walker, for a name for those of you that have been playing for a long, long time. But he just fits right into this system perfectly. He's explosive. He's a game breaker. Like I said, when you get these guys who don't necessarily have the volume of the wide receiver ones, you want the guys that have that big playability, that are going to be targeted downfield, and he checks all those boxes for me.
I mean, so what happens a lot? How many? I should actually ask this. How many seasons has it been for Jordan Love? It's been like, this is fourth or something.
I think it's his fourth. I can check on that. I don't know off the top of my head, but the first 2 years he was behind Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so I guess what I'm getting at is, generally when I see younger quarterbacks, they're trying to find the one that they connect with, like their guy. They're all reliable. They're like, they know this one. They're focused more on being in lockstep with them. And I remember it also with is it Calvin Benjamin with the Panthers?
Oh yeah.
And like he got lockstep right away. I think it was with Cam.
Yep, it was.
And all of a sudden, like I remember hearing that, being like, okay, cool. And he was great. And it was because they established something like, cool, I need my rock or whatever. And when you're telling me that this guy is a first rounder, where I don't think Jordan Love, I mean, sure, maybe it's been Reed, but like, I'm sure he's trying to find that guy is like, yeah, there's my boy. All right. That's my, that's the one that's like my explosive one. I know that we're going to feed each other's confidence. I don't know. Maybe I'm obviously projecting onto this, but yeah, sign me up for Matthew Golden.
I like it.
I'm going after that one. Who is it in Orleans, Enola, for the quarterback? Is it Tim Hill?
Tyler Shuck? Is that who you're speaking of? We don't know who it's going to be.
Tim Hill's a reliever for the Yankees. Taysom Hill is who I was thinking of.
Taysom Hill.
And who's Shuck?
Tyler Shuck is a rookie out of Louisville, I believe
Oh, wow. And he's spelled Shough.
Yes, Tyler Shuck. That's
Spencer Rattler as well.
Yeah, right now, and honestly, it looks like Rattler is going to be the starter. At least he's the favorite with a few weeks left in the preseason. He's been in there. He's not
Let me
good.
understand this. So this is another thought process I have.
Okay.
It's there's two different folds in my head, or different groups. You have the young quarterback looking for the young excitement, and then you have the scared quarterback, the nervous one. And all they want is just I'm going to just throw it to my number one receiver, and they are going to save me instead of me saving them, right? And it sounds like it's Chris Olave there,
security
right?
blanket.
Right. And that's Olave, right?
What's that?
It's Chris. It's a
Olave.
Olave.
It took me Chris Olave
on the E.
Chris Olave. So yes, that's why I was a little confused there. But yeah. The thing is and Chris Olave is another one in the same mold of, even though it's a different position, the JJ McCarthy and the Jordan Loves that was extremely hyped going into last season. We've seen the potential. It looked like he was going to make the leap, and then he got injured. It's not from bad performance on the field. It's not that much of a different situation. Granted, the quarterback situation isn't quite as good as it was with Derek Carr, but he still got the talent where you're able to draft him this season. There's no reason to not take him.
This is what I'm talking about here. This is like he's a wide receiver 1 for the team, right?
He is the wide receiver 1. They do have Rashid Shaheed, who is more of the deep threat, but Olave is going to be the unquestioned one.
His name, that is just the best name. Sorry,
which one, Olave or Rashid Shaheed?
Oh, Rashid Shaheed. Are you kidding me? That's just, you
and
just
he spells it's. I've never seen Rashid spell the way. It's Rashid.
Oh my gosh, amazing. But Olave is a perfect scenario of, actually, you talked to me about Neighbors. Like Neighbors being like, it didn't matter. He still got his food because of all these bad QBs. It doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. Olave is going to be that guy.
And one thing that Olave has too working for him is the new head coach, Kellen Moore. He's been a offensive guru wherever he's gone. He's been offensive coordinator in Dallas, he was in Los Angeles for 1 year, the Chargers for 1 year, with Philly last year. He's the type of guy that can take a mediocre quarterback and build his offensive system around him to make him at least serviceable. And he's going to focus on the most talented guys on the team, which is going to be Chris Olave.
Oh, I'm so in. Then
what was the name that you said for him, by the way? I have to remember this one. How did you pronounce it the first time?
Olave. I don't know.
Olave. I like that.
I don't know, because there's no accent, egu, on the E. Okay? That's where the A comes from. That's why whatever. It's fine. Now, with the Vikings, Jordan Addison's the wide receiver 2, correct?
Yes.
Oh man, and you're throwing in. You say you just told me that you have the amazing O-line. You have a wide receiver 1, sure, but then you have a non-mobile QB in JJ McCarthy. Come on, Jordan Addison.
He's also going to miss the first 3 games of the season.
What?
Due to suspension. Suspension,
I
think it was a driving. I don't know if it was
come on. Why do you got to be that
related or speeding related, but it's not just that. I like Jordan Addison. The thing is,
still go for it because everyone thinks like, oh no, that's going to depress it. But like, you're going to have the first week of the year, you have more wide receivers to throw into your lineup than you have space for. So fine. I'll
As
take
a fantasy football noob, I'm glad you have that mindset. That's not what a lot of people think. It's a weekly game. So after those 3 weeks, Jordan Addison is going to slot right back in there as one of those high-end wide receivers.
Where would you rank Jordan Addison if he were playing week 1?
What was the rank? 47?
47.
I would probably jump him up to 30, 37, 36, somewhere around the Khalil Shakir, Xavier Worthy, somewhere along that.
All right, so Shakir right now in consensus rankings, just as far as like overall stuff goes, I'm trying to find this. That kind of puts him in like the late 60s, early 70s. And where Addison is going at the moment in drafts is 91. And what if I told you that you could trade your pick later in the season in like 3 weeks and move up 3 rounds in the draft or whatever. Like, yeah, you would do that. Like that's how I think about this, guys. And I think you'll be okay.
And there's a difference too when coming back from a suspension versus coming back from an injury. There's not that ramp up time. Don't have to worry about getting back up to speed
of the injury.
Yep, he's going to be.
Oh man, way different. Okay, and I'm going to just pin down one more here.
Okay.
Is there another wide receiver 2 that you're seeing down here past 40 that you think is just kind of in a good situation and should get more of a focus?
Taking a look at the names that I have around here, there's a couple that stick out somewhat. I'll have to probably go with, I wouldn't classify him as the wide receiver 2 yet because there's so much talent, but Emeka Ebuka, I believe is how you pronounce his name, in Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. It's crowded similar to Green. Did I say he's in Green Bay? I think I just did. Did I say
no, he's in Tampa Bay.
Green Bay, Tampa Bay, but not only is it the whole Bay connection, they've got a pretty loaded wide receiver room when healthy. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, but Chris Godwin's coming out is 30 years old. I believe 28 years old. Mike Evans is the older one, but Chris Godwin's coming off of an ankle injury, a severe ankle injury. Wide receivers generally have a hard time coming back from that and being productive after the fact. Mike Evans is 32. Although I'm a little lower on Baker than consensus, Ebuka is a special talent. He's been beside, I believe it was Garrett Wilson in Ohio State a couple of years ago. He's always kind of been overshadowed, wide receiver U and all that. They've got a ton of guys that have come out of there and produced, but I think he can be the one to emerge as the wide receiver 1 on this team. And even if Baker Mayfield takes a step back, if Ebuka can get that type of volume, the most volume on this team, he can make a jump into that high-end wide receiver 2 from a fantasy perspective tier. So tier 3-ish, somewhere along those lines. It would have to be, everything would have to break right, obviously, but he's got the talent. The wide receiver room is a lot less crowded than it looks like on paper.
And the last one I'll have there is Darnell Mooney. And I don't know who their quarterback is.
Michael Penix Jr.
Why do I know this name?
You may have seen a meme going around recently where there was a news station that had a very unfortunate typo.
Oh no, they didn't.
Yes.
No, that's not what I saw. No. Okay. How is he a rookie? Is he
rookie? Yes. Yeah, he's his second. I'm sorry, it's his second year, but it's his first year coming in as a starter. All right. They had Kirk Cousins last year.
Yes.
Towards the end of the season, I think the last 3 games Penix started.
How do we feel about him?
I like the upside. I'm a little concerned because we saw such a small sample size. Out of the quarterbacks going in that range, I think he's worth taking a shot on. I like Mooney. I was higher on him before he unfortunately got injured in practice. I believe it was his shoulder. And there really hasn't been a whole lot of news about it. And when that happens, when they stay quiet, is when I start to get concerned.
Sure.
They say he might be ready. They think we don't know. When they give all these, half-hearted answers, I tend to get concerned. He was somebody who was in Chicago a couple seasons ago. 2 seasons ago was his last year in Chicago. Mm-hmm. He was one of those last year that when you're looking on the waiver wire, people overlook guys who won't necessarily be that top 10, top 15 guy, but being able to get a rock solid wide receiver 2 for free off the waiver wire is extremely valuable to your team.
Absolutely. All right. I am going to shift to tight end because we got to wrap this up. My gosh. Right. And I always say, go get a tight end. We always got to do that. Like, it's just, I hate having the entire season without a tight end. That's just like, I'm looking at guys like, okay, maybe I'll get 7 points this week. I am so in favor of just overspending for a tight end. Now, what I see here is that you don't seem to be too high on jumping at one of them. And I see George Kittle at the top, followed by Trey McBride and Brock Bowers. However, consensus says it's Brock Bowers. So what's going on here?
So, yeah, I understand that thought process. One of the best things you can do for your team is get that positional advantage at tight end. But the problem is there's
no one.
The investment cost and the bust potential isn't worth it for me. That's the reason why I'm out on both Trey McBride and Brock Bowers at cost. They're going to be one of the best tight ends, if not the best. All three of these guys, the reason they're the elite tier, would not be surprised to see any of them finish as the tight end 1. But you're able to get George Kittle round 4, where you're having to get Trey McBride and Brock Bowers in round 1, round 2. You're giving up some pretty elite talent at both wide receiver and tight end in order to get those guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's not worth it, in my opinion. I think it's too much of a risk to lose out on that potential. Let's put it this way. One of the top guys, let me see if I can pull up. You said you have Fantasy Pros ADP up?
I do, yes.
Look back at 2024 and see what Sam Laporta's ADP was for tight ends.
Oh, boy.
Pretty sure he was probably number 1.
Well, I don't know how to do that.
That's all right. At the top right, I believe they have the year. I can pull it up. My keyboard.
I don't see that.
No worries. He was.
Yeah, I mean,
he was
it
coming
was
off of a tight end 1 season last year. He was one that everybody was extremely high on, willing to go up and spend up to get that positional advantage. And he missed time. He got injured, but he also was nowhere near as productive. He stopped getting the looks in the red zone. Jameson Williams emerged in the offense. So there's a lot more risk. If you were able to pay up and have a near guarantee, yeah, Sam Laporta was going 33rd overall and tight end 2. Travis Kelce was 22 overall, tight end 1. It's just the investment isn't worth it there. I think these guys, you're giving up way too much at the other positions.
Well, all right. So then, okay, let's say you don't get those 3 then, right? I mean, who are the ones that I'm just going to be fine sliding in? And who are some of the ones that might actually emerge over time?
So I like to approach the tight end position similar to the late quarterback strategy, where I would prefer to wait for the cheaper guys who have potential to break out, try to pair a little bit different than the quarterback position. Try to get 1 or 2 of the potential breakouts, because there's so few and far between of the safe guys. I basically call anything past the top 6 or 7 the tight end glob, and you're looking at a couple of catches, 50-ish yards, and you're praying your guy catches a touchdown. And that's pretty much what it is outside of that. I really like Tyler Warren, the rookie tight end in Indianapolis. It's going outside the top 100. He could very well wind up. He's another situation. You'll notice a theme with some of the guys that I like to go after late. They don't have an alpha wide receiver. I like Michael Pittman Jr.
That makes sense to me completely. Yeah.
Josh Downs it's one of those situations where he could emerge. He could be the guy. And granted, it's not as big of a pie as it would be somewhere else, but for the value, you can't pass up on it. And, with both Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, they're both guys who have liked to use the short passing game in the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. That really could be where Tyler Warren, a lot of people are excited about Josh Downs because of that. I think Tyler Warren is going to take a lot of the work from Josh Downs. Same thing, rookie in Chicago, Colston Loveland. I prefer, and this is a name that is going to spark a lot of controversy because it's a very volatile name. I'm still in on Kyle Pitts. I know people are out. He's definitely been a huge bust, but you're able to get him as tight end 17, 132 overall, and he still has tight end 1 overall potential.
Sure, yeah. That's why not at that point.
Completely. I would much rather take a shot on a couple of these guys.
Who's Tucker Kraft?
Tucker Kraft is a guy that it was a perfect example last year of why I don't want to pay up for the tight end position. He was being drafted actually. One of the segments in the Ultimate Draft Guide article, I talked about playing the waiver wire and guys who wound up, they had an ADP outside of the top 120 that wound up being some pretty significant contributors. Tucker Kraft had an ADP of 301 last season, wound up as the tight end 15 and was 102 overall. So
wow,
don't necessarily, you think about that, and it doesn't sound that exciting, but you're getting a guy that his value is nearly inside the top 100 overall that you're getting.
I mean, he's 105 this year in ADP, so he seems like the guy I'm going to go for.
Yeah, and it's another situation, the Green Bay, where there's not a designated.
Oh, no, I'm going to get Golden and Kraft. Oh gosh, I don't know. We'll see here.
That's one of the offenses that I wouldn't mind having multiple pieces of.
Sure. All right. So I also see, I mean, I have to mention it very quickly. You have Kelce at 13, while consensus has him at 5 or 6 because of name value. I assume you're just pretty much like the better names are behind, or days are behind him. He's too injured and everything like that. Let's just stop doing this. I get that. You want to be out a year early as opposed to a year too late.
And he's declined the past 2 seasons. He's
absolutely has. On the way down, him as my favorite tight ends and stuff. I totally get it. Okay, so I'm good. I don't want to talk about kickers and defense. I understand you're very much of like, don't draft a kicker before the last round. Totally understand that. Defense, I just want to say very quickly, are there definitive defenses, just off the top of your head, one that has a really good early schedule at least, that you say, hey, look, like if you're just looking for a defense, these are the ones that I would look at early, and at least you're safe the first week or in 2 to be like, I don't have like a negative defense team. And then is there one that's just like definitively like everyone knows this is the best defense?
So when it comes to schedule wise, one that sticks out, it's not quite exactly what you're talking about, but the 2 out of the 4 first weeks are fantastic matchups. The Chargers play the Chiefs week 1, which I believe they play in Brazil, and it never fails those games that are in a different country or where the guys are traveling a lot. They tend to, more often than not, tend to be kind of ugly, kind of low scoring games. So I would not
think in Brazil,
be surprised.
They did that last year.
Yeah, that was the first week. It was the Eagles and the Packers. It's the Friday night. They've added a Friday night game now. So
wait. When? Every week?
No, just the week 1. It was week 1. So it was, they had the Thursday night opener. Then Friday was Philadelphia and Green Bay in Brazil.
Okay.
So even though it's against the Chiefs, I don't mind that matchup. Then week 2, I believe they face the Giants, which is, I am a Giants fan, but I'm not.
Teams you want to stream against are like the Giants right now, right? And
right. Yeah.
Probably the Giants. You're like, I don't know. Okay.
Jets. They with Justin Fields, from a big difference in real football and fantasy football, and they might put up some fantasy points.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. And then as far as the best defenses, I'm seeing the consensus being the Broncos, Eagles, Steelers, and Ravens.
Yeah, I really like the Broncos. Is probably going to be my favorite out of that grouping. And the best thing is they do open the season 2 with facing Tennessee and Indianapolis, which could be 2 fantastic matchups.
We've not talked about Tennessee, I think, once in this entire thing.
I do like Calvin Ridley where he's going. He's another guy that is being a little overlooked, but yeah, that's about it. That's really I want. But
yeah, okay. I mean, is there a running back there that like who's the running
Tony
back?
Pollard? The thing is, I'm starting to come around a little on Tony Pollard because he was supposed to share the backfield with Tajay Spears, but Spears is already hurt again. So Pollard is probably in line for a decent amount of volume. So for a cheaper running back who's going to see some volume, Pollard's actually not a bad option.
And this guy named Cameron Ward, huh?
Yeah, some guy, kind of the first overall pick.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah, that's him.
Why
that's
was that guy overall?
So, it was a weak class, to be honest with you. Like, he's fine, like he's good, but it's just not really. And I say that as my team took a quarterback in the draft, but I think he's fine. Not somebody that I'm. Last year you were actively seeking out both Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels as high upside options in fantasy. You don't have that with Cam Ward. The reason I do like Calvin Ridley is because Cam Ward has a good deep ball, likes to throw it deep, and that's kind of Calvin Ridley's specialty. He did sufficient.
What did I say before about, like, I think what gets overlooked is, all right, these guys need someone to throw to that they trust. And you have your terrified QB, which is definitely Cam Ward, I would think. Tyler Lockett is there, and Van Jefferson. It's Calvin Ridley.
Exactly. And they just released Treylon Burks, who was their first round pick a few years ago. So,
and is Cam Ward a runner?
No, he's one of those guys in the Joe Burrow type of mold where he's mobile enough. He can move around in the pocket.
Then you're gonna. I see this very much as a scenario of, like, I need to get rid of the ball, and who's the tight end for the Titans?
That's another contentious point. I'm kind of against the green on Chig Okonkwo. Chigoziem Okonkwo is his name. He's kind of one of those guys that's been extremely hyped up, never really lived up to it, has a couple of stretches where he's, looks like he's the next big thing. I like their rookie, actually. Let me look. I can't remember his name.
The
Gunnar
rookie
Helm.
is Gunnar Helm. Yeah.
Yep, Gunnar Helm. I really like, based on I don't believe in Chig Okonkwo, and you can get Gunnar Helm for free. You don't have to draft him. He's honestly somebody you could probably just watch off the waiver wire and keep an eye on and see what the early season looks like. I could see him having a Tyler Kraft type of jump Tucker Kraft type of jump where he's a pretty reliable back end tight end one for a cost of nothing.
Yeah. All right. I mean, it's interesting because I just feel like, I don't know, someone's got to do something there. And
you hope that does, most of the time that works out, but it doesn't always when offenses are pretty ugly.
But you don't really know. I mean, I guess what I'll say is you don't really know a lot of these rookies how they will actually play at these places, unless, like, Tennessee has the worst offensive line ever. So if that's the case, then okay, I understand.
They should have a better one. They took Zeitler from Detroit, so they should.
So it can be easy to overlook. And who knows? But all right, I think that is going to kind of put a pin on this. This has been a very long one. Oh my gosh. I can't thank Jay enough for all the time spent here and talking about this with me. I thank all of you for putting up with me, as I know nothing, but I hope it helped you really grasp, like, what your thoughts are and really solidifying how you approach a draft. If I'm going to sit here and say the guys for Nick Pollack this year, as Jay thinks about the ones that he makes sure that he needs to leave his draft with, I would say on the wide reliever side. Oh my God, wide receiver side for me. I am certainly going to be targeting. Let's see. I do like Calvin Ridley now. I like Olave, and I do like. I'm still going to go with Golden a little bit there in Addison. I'm going to say on the and this is assuming just whatever the first rounds go or what they go. Like, I can't decide those. Okay, guys.
Whatever the first rounds go.
Tight end. I am going to try and consider Tucker Kraft. I'll see if, honestly, I still might be interested in Brock Bowers. I don't know. Depends on where things go. I just don't want to.
It's hard for me to take a tight end in the first round, and that's where you.
Well, I'm not taking it in the first round. Is he going in the first round?
Yeah, I believe so. Last time.
Okay, well, I'm not.
Okay, he's borderline. So 18. He could go in the first round.
Why? Is
probably
he actually that good?
Yeah, he was incredible. I'm not out on the guy's talent, and they don't really have an alpha wide receiver in Las Vegas as well. But I think their passing volume is going to go down with Pete Carroll at the helm.
No, I'm going to get Brock Bowers in the second round. I don't care what you're talking about. That seems like the best one out of Kittle and McBride then. Right? I mean, I don't know.
I'd rather take Kittle in round 4 than Bowers in round 2.
Well, okay, but if you had a choice between the two of them at, like, round 4, for example, you take Bowers.
Oh, yeah, right? Bowers, no question.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying that because you have in the rankings you have out, it's George Kittle, Trey McBride, then Brock Bowers. So I was under the assumption that you liked Kittle and McBride
so
more.
I do, and that's where rankings kind of get a little wonky sometimes. It's the range of outcomes and everything. Part of it is the ADP. Part of it is the situation where San Francisco's defense is going to be a lot worse than they've been in the past. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot more. Brandon Ayuk isn't going to be ready for the season. Jawan Jennings is injured, contract dispute. George Kittle is going to be the guy for San Francisco for a very good chunk of the season. Brock Bowers, my only concern, like I was talking about, is the step back in volume. So it's really one of those that's a coin toss. It's really a splitting hairs between the guys. But
because it's where you're going to get them is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Fair. I still might go after Brock Bowers. I don't care. Anyway,
fair enough.
So, and then when the quarterback side, I mean, you were saying some nice things about Jordan Love. I get that. It really depends on how far these guys go. If I had to go into the 9 through 15 range, I still have a soft spot for Kyler Murray, and I might just go with that. But
considering where he's going, it's not a bad value. I just think he lacks some of that. He was in contention to be that perennial top 3, top 5 guy, and I don't know if he quite has that.
Yeah, I'll take the chance on it. And then for running backs, the ones that I'm focused on are where are my running back rankings? Here we go. I'm going to be focused on Marion Hampton. I'm going to be focused on RJ Harvey, Tony Pollard, and Chase Brown, but I don't think that I can get Chase Brown very nicely. And then later on, as far as just kind of chasing things, as we've talked about here, it does sound like to me that I would go after. Oh, who was the Minnesota guy? That guy. I want that guy.
JJ McCarthy.
Jordan Mason.
Oh, I'm sorry. Running backs. Yes, Jordan Mason.
That's
especially where you can draft Jordan Mason.
And maybe some Trey Benson in there too.
A little sprinkle of Trey Benson in there.
A little bit. And Jay, who would you say are your like 3 to 5 must-have guys out of the draft?
So Jordan Mason, number one. He's a guy that I'm getting everywhere I possibly can. I think he's going to be somebody that winds up on a lot of championship rosters. Kenneth Walker, even though I know you're out on him based on Sam Darnold, I think the change in offensive system where they're going to run the ball a lot more, his efficiency is there, his explosiveness is there. Very big on Kenneth Walker. Let's look at the wide receiver position. Josh Palmer for the Buffalo Bills, even though he's one of the later guys, I think he can step into a very valuable role, especially if he does become that deep threat for Josh Allen, who we have established is pretty decent at throwing the football. Zay Flowers is another guy who's sort of under the radar compared to others. I think I like that range of guys where those underrated wide receiver ones or the wide receiver 2s on explosive offenses like we had talked about, you can get them at a great value, and there's potential for them to make that leap. So Matthew Golden, he's one of your guys. I'm very high on Matthew Golden as well. Quarterback, I'm big on. I'm back in on Patrick Mahomes. I know a lot of people are concerned about him, considered, the way that the past couple of years have looked, but a little bit of narrative street going down narrative street, but I really don't care because sometimes that works out. I'm not going to bet against a pissed off Patrick Mahomes. A angry Patrick Mahomes. And the skill has the efficiency stats really haven't gone down that much. They haven't attacked the defenses downfield as much the past couple of seasons. It's been the talk all off season that it's going to be a bigger part of the offense this coming year. Where you're able to get him, it's not really that much of a risk. 6th, 7th round. That's not bad for the safe floor. And he still has that elite upside. The lack of rushing. Okay, he probably doesn't have QB1 overall, but he's definitely has a shot at QB1.
I'm looking at it now.
Top 3.
of Joe Burrow is at 46 and Patrick Mahomes at 61. And I love getting Mahomes at 61. I mean, I'm just like, I'm looking at this now and being like, well, isn't this really, I don't know. You don't have many safe options at QB. So go get
he
that.
He still
one.
has that upside. Like it's
yeah.
Where you're getting him, I will take that all day.
Yeah. All right. That is going to do this. Oh, yeah. Jay. I'm so sorry. Yeah. QB, you do wide receiver, running back, tight end, please.
Yep. I was going to throw George Kittle. Like I said, if you're able to get him in the 4th, taking that all day. A couple of the guys later. I like Evan Ingram as well, although I do think Bo Nix takes a little bit of a step back. Sean Payton is an offensive genius even if he isn't that great of a person. Evan Ingram, I'm excited to see what he's able to do in this offense. I think he's going to be involved early and often.
All right. There you go. You heard it here first from Jay Felicio. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, for this, putting up for me specifically, but really for Jay for putting up with me for 2 hours as we did this, really helping me out with my draft as I draft against him and the entire QB List staff. And just so you guys know, every single year since we started QB List, I have made the playoffs. So just
without me in the league. Just throwing that out.
You've not been in the league. This is right.
That is honestly that more so than winning the league. I think my goal is going to be to keep you from the playoffs.
Oh my gosh,
that's going to be my goal. So
wow, well I just misled you because I'm not going to take any of the guys I just talked about.
No, I'm just kidding. That is impressive. I give you credit there, but we'll see what it shakes out to be.
We'll see. But everybody, of course, go to QBList.com. Check out everything that we're doing there. We have our What We Saws coming out every single Monday in season, talking about what we visually saw, not just reading the stats and the box scores. And of course, the greatest sit and start primer for your week on Thursday mornings, where the entire pitch. Oh my gosh, QB List staff answers all of your questions inside of Reddit. But keep in mind that if you get PL Plus or PL Pro with Pitcher List on the Pitcher List website, you will then get access to the Discord, where you'll be able to ask all of your football questions to Jay and the rest of the QB List staff. So make sure you consider that. Go to pitcherlist.com/premium, get PL Plus, and you can get 15% off of PL Plus yearly with promo code podcast to go hang out with the Q&As with the QB List staff to help your leagues. But that is it for today. So on behalf of Jay Felicio, thank you so much for being here. My name is Nick Pollack, and I cannot wait to embarrass Jay in the QB List Fantasy Legacy League.